Just a quick question for you, Greg. Are you what's your role within DIRTT? Are you a sales rep? Or are you a PM?
I'm a project manager.
Project manager.
So a remote project manager.
Okay, perfect. And just to get a little bit of context from you, have you used Kinetic much in the past, or is this just kind of your intro to it?
No, I've used it in the past. I've been with DIRTT for 7 years. I was with a DP for 5 years prior to that here in Spokane. So I've been around the DIRTT world for a long time, 12 years now, so almost 12 years. But it's been, with Kinetic, it's mostly my interaction, obviously, is getting new orders from DPs that are using it, and then also deficiencies and chargebacks. Just kind of, learning more and more about it. Obviously, Morgan can tell you that sometimes I ask those questions that I should probably know, but it's more of just trying to help the DPs that are using it and new people coming on and understanding how to use it and what information we need to have to get our, how to get through and how to get stuff to us quickly and easily and clean,
Yep, makes sense. Cool.
I haven't had the experience of a KD or a Taylor or those guys or whoever, Danny or those guys have been using it for a long time, but it's from the beginning. But so it's still, sometimes I get caught up in it, and it seems like it's a pretty easy process at this time. Deficiencies are great to run through as long as the DP is putting in the right information.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I would say it sounds like you've got your feet wet a bit. If there's anything that you specifically want to dive into a little bit more deeply, just let me know as we go through, and we'll do that.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So starting on the project overview, this is the landing page. So when you log in, you'll see all the projects that you are part of the project team for. So if you're expecting, just a first note, if you're expecting to see a project on here that you're not seeing, it probably means that you are not assigned to the project team yet. And one thing that we have heard as like a common refrain is we want to make sure, or we want dirtbags to be able to access the projects that they need to more easily. So we're working on something currently. I'm not going to dive into all the details on it, but to make that process easier as far as being able to access a project that maybe the DIRTT partner hasn't yet assigned to you, but had meant to. But anyway, just wanted to mention that because that's going to be coming in the next release.
Okay. So the one thing I'll stop right there for a sec, but one of the things I noticed is that obviously that was a big issue in the beginning. Seemed like anytime, because, with us, we get assigned DPs, and then all of a sudden we'll get a project from somebody else that we don't normally deal with, and it was a lot to try to get them to add us to it, or remember to add us to it. And it was mostly our order entry team that would give us a project that was from a different DP that we don't normally deal with, and then we'd have to go back and do that. And so I've seen huge change with that. I haven't seen the problems from that before. I guess one of the questions that I have is that when it's a project or a deficiency, some of the stuff that's kind of confusing for me is that, I see this whole list of stuff, and when the DP is even just partially putting in for a deficiency, it makes it tough for me to go back and find the one that he wants at this time, right? Mm-hmm. And I noticed mostly with our one out of CBI, because he might start a deficiency, but it might take him 5 or 6 days to do the deficiency. So when I go to deficiencies and I see it, it might be, I'll give an example of a name like Roybal. I have to go back and try to figure out exactly which one he's talking about through the email. I don't know if there's a way to make it so that as a project manager, we don't have to see that until it becomes a deficiency, or, once it becomes, with the yellow, like on your screen, you're showing the yellow caution symbol right now.
Right.
As they're producing it, is there a way that we can see it as an actual deficiency and not what they're actually working on, or is there a way to control that?
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that you asked that, because one thing that we recently did was we we added a piece to show whether it's submitted or not, because that has been something that, you're not the only one who's like, I never know if the deficiency is final or if it's something that's still like in progress. So we added this submitted piece here. So I'll go ahead and double click on one of these. And what it'll do is it'll switch to submitted after they've sent this email. There's also this button right here. So if you click it, it'll show that it's submitted. It'll show who submitted it and at what time. So that'll help reduce a lot of the ambiguity that that may have occurred in the past.
Okay. So if I'm looking, so a quick check for me is just to see if it's if you go back one screen, it's just the yes and the yes and the no then, right? So if I quickly look in there, I should be able to say, okay, this one's not submitted, must be still working on it. It should say no, correct?
Correct. So yeah, if you go search for it too, you can just do the ones that are submitted yes. We had considered making this the default one, but the reason we didn't is we thought that might be more confusing to have that show like a subset of the list, like to already have it filtered. But that is an option. If you have like a ton of deficiencies on here, you can narrow it down a whole bunch.
Well, that's what they just add them in and don't, he starts working on it, and I look at it and it gives me all deficiencies for all DPs that I'm dealing with, and it just kind of makes it a lot of convoluted information for me to try to sift through to find the one that he's working on. So, okay, that's good to know.
Yep, understood. I guess while we're here on deficiencies, since we're going to be posting a replay, I'm just going to go through a couple of things on here. And one other note is that I'm using a local version of the application. So we've got a couple of updates here that are going to be coming out on the next release. So this is kind of a sneak preview. Okay. The first is that for the chargeable items, this used to be a required field. After getting feedback from DIRTT, this is no longer a required field, nor is the factory designation. Okay. It also used to automatically generate a pop-up for an email that you could send to the project team, to your DIRTT partner. You could add anyone from DIRTT that you would need to. And that is now optional. What we've understood from DIRTT is that really just want to be able to put in like the PID number here and go ahead and authorize the deficiency. In that manner, then they can kind of get through a bunch of these at once. Our understanding is that there's also a piece on the DIRTT side that will send out an email. So it was kind of a duplicative thing. So I would encourage you and anyone else who would listen to this to let us know if there's any other situations like this. We always want to really optimize this application for the uses.
Perfect.
So, yep, and a couple of other things here just to point out. We've got this projects path piece here in the middle. This is really just viewable if you're logged in as a dirtbag. So the partner would not see this project path part. This is for the local drive, so you can put this on here where I believe files are stored that are related to it. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, Greg.
No, that's correct. So I mean, for us, it's anytime we do a deficiency, then originally the order engineering team wanted to see, where the original path was, so they have somewhere to go back to and find the information that we're uploading or we're trying to make a new part out of, or making a new piece to a project. So I use it for project path. I always say original. I always make one original, give them the original path, and then the new path. I don't know if it's redundant now because, again, there's an email that comes out off of our schedule, once we upload it, that gives them the location of the new path. But it seems like order engineering always wanted to see the original path, so they had somewhere to go back to.
Gotcha. That sounds like it's a pretty good best practice there. So you got all of your info.
Mm-hmm. Can you go back up real quick? I do have a question on the upper part there.
Mm-hmm.
Original PIDs. Can you show me how to use this? Because every time I try to go to find original PID or something, it seems like it's never filled in there from my DP.
Gotcha. Right. So this will be the list of PIDs. That's I think.
jump in here, John, if you don't mind. So on that clarification, Greg, it's our understanding that they have to have the insight number now versus the PID. That's why you probably don't have them.
Okay, that's fine. And I get that, because that's kind of how we do if one of our DPs is on Kinetic, when we don't really get the PID anymore, we use the insight numbers. So I mean, there's a combination of numbers that go with every project. There's 3 different numbers, and so any one of those numbers we can find it from. So if Jordan or there's been something that came down just using the insight, I can find it off that. It's fine. I just was curious. I like I said, I've tried to go in and search for the PID, original PID, and maybe I'm not doing it right or not.
Now, let me add one piece of context here that I think is probably the case whenever you're not able to find it, is that this list right here is limited to the ones that are associated with the contract number. So you saw I just clicked it and it came up blank. It's because the contract number is not included right now. So
okay.
if that's not included, or if it's not associated to the correct contract number, that would be the reason why you wouldn't find like the PID number in that pop-up.
And that's fine. Like I said, I can use the insight number. I was just curious on that. So if it's missing the contract, I know that now. Okay. And the other part about this that I notice a lot over there at company and building on their on the other side. Typically, I mean, obviously, are we telling the DPs that this is where we're shipping to? Is this supposed to be telling us where we're supposed to be going to with the product on a deficiency? Because I see this blank a lot.
Yeah, that is my understanding. Morgan, I'm not sure if you have more context that you'd want to add here.
Yeah, so the delivery stuff, Greg, is basically just like you said, it's where the deficiency is going.
Okay, because I noticed like with CBI, this is always blank. I mean, I know the address now by heart because I send product down there, but it's just something that I need to train with Steven to make sure that he's adding that in there. And I've done it before. I've shown him that, you can go in, where can they pick, isn't there a pull down or something that when you click in there that gives them the list of warehouses that they've entered? There we go. Yep.
Right, and then
warehouse, and then
install team warehouse, that'll generate a pop-up for any of the ones from their vendors as well.
Perfect. Okay.
And also too, Greg, right now John is signed in as a dirt bag. So you could, I know you know the address by heart, but you could select that drop down and it populate.
Okay, that's good to know, because it does kind of, all of a sudden they might change that on me and not catch that. So I want to make sure I'm training my DPs the same way, that, making sure we have the information in there.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Cool. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to touch on before we wrap up with deficiencies is just jumping into the details here for all the line items related to a specific deficiency. So you'll see the product, like what it is, as well as some information about the location, if there's a finish associated, as well as the reason it's being submitted.
Mm-hmm.
And then there can be notes here, as well as the price impact.
Mm-hmm. And so for them, it's as the DP, I mean, you're signed in as a dirt bag, so I'm seeing it the way that I would see it. I know obviously it gives them ability to track it for issues with either, was it the DP's fault, was it the install group fault, is it chargeable, non-chargeable? That's what they see on their side, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And then you also have the ability to create a document related to this, as well as send an email. You can use that if maybe you need some additional information. The handy thing about sending it from here is that'll come through with the associated deficiency information, so they'll know exactly what you're talking about when you send it.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm going to jump back actually to the project screen. And I'm just going to point out a couple of things that, Greg, you may already be familiar with. So the first thing that I'd just like to show is that, if there's extra columns on here, you can actually right click here and you can hide it. Like, so let's say that designer, you really don't need to know about that. And you can also move the columns over, so you can like reorder them to personalize this for yourself as needed. And for anyone who's kind of new to Kinetic, you'll be able to see your projects, of course, your additional orders, the status of your orders, if it has additional orders, as well as the DIRTT partner who is associated to it. So I know that you guys typically work with several DIRTT partners, so that's a pretty handy column there. And then you can also search really by any of these columns.
Can you show me the search real quick so I understand? Because so if I put in a project name, so project number. So if you do it by name, it's just you have all those different ones. We can do it. Okay, perfect. I can just search that way.
Yeah, let's just say like we have a bunch of them, and we want to find this 12th floor one. I'll just type in 12 and hit search, and it'll just narrow it down to that.
Okay.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and jump into this one, and we'll walk through a couple of things under this project management tab. It'll default to this one, and this is where you get all of your subtabs. I know that as I was trying to learn that, this was one thing that, I quickly learned that this is where the vast majority of the stuff that I wanted to look at was housed. So looking at the schedule here, it's my understanding that you also keep a schedule on the DIRTT side as well?
Correct, yeah.
Yep. So this one, I think, has a couple of benefits in that, this is something that can really be shared between between DIRTT as well as the partner. And you can come in here to see the latest and greatest, because this will be really a real-time update. So if they make an update here, it'll flow through to your side as well. And then with the Gantt graph down here, you can really kind of visualize how all of this comes through. These ones that are in purple are the milestones. So anything that's designated as a milestone up here will show up like that down at the bottom. The ones that are defaulted to that are the dates that are really those key dates, like your order entry date, the on-site date, install, and project finish. What I'm showing you right now is really just the default schedule that will be created when any project is created. And then a lot of partners will use this to really keep track of if they do it in multiple phases. You might see something that's 3 times as long as this, because they'll have several on-site dates, several install dates, and all that.
On that note, Greg, on the top left, have you noticed that on-site date that it does change along with the schedule? So for example,
I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm coming in here if I'm missing any information.
Gotcha.
I don't really get to track this as much. I probably should be, but for me, it's if I don't get a project scope form for somebody that's in Kinetic, I'll go back here and grab it. Maybe order entry forgot it. So I don't really view this as much.
And that's understandable too. But on the top left, I just want to call that to your attention, just because I do understand that, you have your own schedule, that you got to deal with internally. But if the partners are utilizing this correctly and they do have several on-site dates, on the top left, that's going to provide kind of the latest and greatest information, which it pulls from that schedule below.
Are you talking about where it says on-site dates, install date, finish date, that area?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, and then additionally here, just while we're on this top section, this will show all of the DIRTT specific numbers. A couple of just quick notes here. So if you're seeing these come through as 0, the reason is probably that the partner has not designated their quote as final, and that can be done within the project, and that would have to be done on the partner side. And then each one of these, there's a flag for them. So if they've designated as the final, they also have a piece in there which they'll be able to set as like the dirt walls, the millwork, the power and data floors, etc. So the next thing that I wanted to touch on here was the project files. So you can come in here and you can download these as needed. I'll just add a couple within here just to just to show you the ability to do it. And then similarly for orders, Greg, it sounds like you're probably already familiar with this, but you can come in here and then just click this zip and download all order entry files. I think that might actually come through blank, but with the once the order has been submitted, of course, they're required to have a ICE file, project PDF, and all that. There will be files to do, and then I think you mentioned that occasionally you'll come in here to download the project scope form.
Yes.
Right, and you normally do that just using this create paper PSF button, right?
Yep.
Cool.
And John, too, if you just want to go ahead and show them the collapse and expand buttons on the top left. And hey, Shannon, is that you that just joined?
Yes.
Hi. Just a heads up, we are recording this, so you can look back at the recording. We'll shoot out the YouTube link to everybody. Just FYI, I don't want you to feel like you're lost or you missed stuff.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Yep. So this will download all of the information from below. And as Morgan mentioned, that we have this collapse and expand button. This is pretty handy since there are a bunch of different sections to it. So if you click it, it's really an expand all button. And each one of these sections is now open, and then you can kind of close them as you're going through, scroll down, whatever your style is, and then you can bring it all back to this collapsed view as well. So the next thing I think we can touch on is the tasks here. This is pretty handy. For you. One thing that we found that partners have had a lot of success doing is creating a to-do list for the entire project and then creating subtasks underneath it. So with that in mind, I went ahead and assigned a couple of subtasks for myself here. So looking at this, it's like the COM glass report. Okay, it's due October 3rd. And then once it's completed, you just click this check mark and then you know it's done. The other handy thing is you can add comments to your tasks. One thing that's particularly useful about this for the comments is that anyone who's assigned to this task, and you can see that through this this avatar icon here, it'll basically generate a email chain for people who are assigned. So if let's just say we're going to add another subtask for schedule happy hour after install complete. And we'll just make this for next week. So if you want to do on the comments here, where should we have the happy hour? You just hit enter, and now everyone has the opportunity to chime in here.
If you think back, guys, to like the very first early days of the application, and what we're trying to accomplish is really just a collaborative platform, right? So the task when we first rolled this out 3 years ago was room for growth. That's pretty obvious. So our partners kind of sent us different applications that they saw being used just by other companies, and we basically pulled from the best, which is pretty neat. So as you can see here, you guys can add tasks and assign them to other people at the DP. They can do the same thing to you, but it's really, it's just a neat tool and super user-friendly, and it used to not be. So this was one area that we significantly improved, and you'll get automatic emails from and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for adding that context, Morgan. Cool, and I'll also point out that over here to the left, we'll have all of the kind of overview pieces. So like deficiencies will show you all your deficiencies across projects, and then similarly for tasks. Of course, this is just showing our current project, but if you click on this one, it will show you all of the tasks that are assigned to you for any project. And then you also have this drop down here, so you can click on this all tasks button, and this will really show you all of the tasks related to the project, regardless of who is assigned. So I think I just added this task here if you're wondering why it hasn't changed for this sample project. But kind of moving along, we're going to go back to this project management tab and wanted to touch on a couple of other things here. So we went through deficiencies at the beginning, so I'll go over to chargebacks now. So within here, we can see that this chargeback has been submitted. We know that because it's got a submitted date and it was submitted this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this one, and we can see that from the details that this one is related to broken tiles. And what we can do here as a DIRTT partner is you can click approved by DIRTT. You can also reject it. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this one. And then you can provide your signature. So it's just a thing you can do with your mouse. Click save so that we know, who approved it and all that. And you can see down here, it just gives you a couple of timestamps so that if you're ever like wondering, who approved this, when did it happen, all that is readily available.
So guys, just on the chargebacks, I don't know if you've noticed, but when the distribution partner creates the chargeback and you get the email, it comes through as a Word document for you then to review. Once you approve it, or if you reject it, if you approve it, it'll automatically send that distribution partner the email with the PDF version so that they can then, combine it with the purchase order and send it off to the appropriate parties. So again, just to recap, when you receive it, it's a Word document. Once you sign into the application, review it, make all your notes, and approve it, it's automatically sent back to the DP in a PDF. Does that make sense, Greg and Shannon?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Cool. And you'll also notice that this chargeback is no longer on this tab. Where it went was over here to this approved tab. And if we had rejected it, it would be on this third tab. So easy enough there. Let's see. One other thing, just want to point out, at least for today, if you are already assigned to a project and you're headed out of town on Friday morning and someone's going to take care of something for you, what you can do is you can click this Add New User button, and you can go ahead and find who you need to assign it to. This will allow them to be able to view the project. As I did mention at the beginning, we're going to make this process a little bit easier for you to do, but until that next release happens, this would be the best way for you to do it. If you don't want to, I guess, wait on the partner to add them for you. So I did want to just leave some open time here at the end for any questions, for any specifics that we might want to, you guys might want to jump into here. So I guess I'll leave it open for questions here. And also, Morgan, was there anything else that you had wanted to make sure to go over today?
No, that was pretty much it. You did a great job. Just for you guys to know, and also for the recording's sake, John is the product owner alongside with Ricky for the application. Obviously, you guys know I train and travel a lot, so any questions that you have, if you need immediate response, John is your man. So you can email him there. His email is right there, john.lam@kineticloud.com.
Yep, right here.